2 o'clock.
All right, thank you, Mr. Newman. We'll go ahead and get started. Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to Tech Tuesday. We're thrilled that you're joining us today to hear from our two guests about the automotive industry. Our guests will be sharing information that we hope you find helpful as you plan for your lives after high school. And we'd like to introduce our guests now. Mr. Buckite, would you be willing to introduce Ms. Jones? Jason, you are muted.
Is that better? There we go. So I get the pleasure of introducing Ms. Shelley Jones. Ms. Jones is the Industry Relationship Coordinator with Rankin Technical College right now. She is also the committee chair for the St. Louis ICAR Committee and is a founding member and current president of the Women in Automotive and Collision Group.
Okay, thank you. And then Mr. Riemann, would you please introduce Mr. Detweiler? And you, Mr. Riemann, are muted as well.
There we go. Yeah, I'd like to introduce Mike Detweiler. I've worked for him many years ago. Mr. Arndt, Mr. Pruitt have also. He's been affiliated with Dave Sinclair almost from the beginning. He filled just about every capacity, in management at the Ford and the Lincoln store that, he could possibly do. And, he's a wonderful guy to work for, very well organized and detail oriented.
Oh, thanks. Holy cow.
All right, thanks to both of you. We really appreciate you both being here. We also have several teachers and a counselor with us from North and South Tech, and I'd like for them to introduce themselves, and I'll just go as in order on my screen. So Mr. Arndt, would you please introduce yourself?
Hello, my name's John Arndt. I am a South Tech automotive instructor.
Thank you. Mr. Pruitt?
I'm Randy Pruitt, South Tech automotive instructor.
Mr. Poe?
Good afternoon. My name is Mr. Poe. I'm a North Tech automotive instructor.
Okay, Mr. Buckite?
Jason Buckite, Auto Collision at North Technical High School.
Mr. Riemann?
Automotive instructor, South Tech High School.
Mr. Newman?
Ken Newman, the auto body instructor, auto collision instructor at South Technical High School.
And Mr. Chandler?
Hey, Jeff Chandler, counselor at South Tech.
Okay, and I am Sally Defani, Administrator of Partnerships for Special School District. We are going to start today's session with Mr. Detweiler. We have a list of questions prepared for him, but we also hope that our students who are participating will type their questions that they may have into the chat feature on YouTube, and we will do our best to answer all of your questions. After Mr. Detweiler has finished his presentation, we will have Ms. Jones talk to us about the auto collision industry. And again, we hope that you will type questions you have for Ms. Jones into the chat feature as well. Okay, I think we're ready to get started. And I think Mr. Poe has the first question for Mr. Detweiler.
Good afternoon, Mr. Detweiler.
Hi.
Mr. Poe here at North Tech. How you doing today?
Good.
Question I have for you is, what are your thoughts on students continuing their education after high school or entering the workforce full time?
Well, I think first is a realization that everybody works for a living to improve their lifestyle during their life. And as you get older, it's more important for your family. If you have a wife and kids or a husband and kids, you learn that you want to educate and train yourself on a job that pays well, has great benefits, and has great job security, because that's what's going to support the lifestyle that you want to have. And people are going to pay you to do what nobody else wants to do or can do. Most importantly, can do. So, our journey person technicians earn between $60,000 and $100,000 a year, dependent on their skills and abilities. And they control what they get paid by their productivity and by their knowledge and by their quality. And they have great benefits, and they're in demand all over the place. There's not a journey person in St. Louis that's laid off. Now, there might be electricians or plumbers or carpenters, but there isn't automotive guys laid off. If you're good, you're going to have a job, and you can do that anywhere in the nation. If I'm a Ford dealer, you have Ford certifications, you're going to be able to do that anywhere in the nation. So not only do you get a great paying job, but you can pick where you want to work. So you want to pick up and move to Albuquerque, you can do it. All those classifications work. So I just think there's never been a better time to be entering into the automotive field. The shortages that are there are going to make this a great time. I was telling Ed, I don't know of anybody that wants to give up their car for a bicycle or tennis shoes. So when they, and people pay you to do what other people can't do. And this is a great time to be in the automotive trade because of that. Does that answer? Did that get to it?
Yes, thank you very much. I think those were all very good and important points.
Mhm.
Here's one thing I'd say, one more thing.
Mhm.
Everybody when they're in high school wants to do a job they love. Very few of us in life get to do that. We do a job we like, and it has its difficulties just like everybody, but we do it for our families and we do it for our kids, and we want to send our kids to college. We want to have a nice house, and that's why we do what we do. We don't have at 18, I wanted to be a job I love. At 30, when I had kids, I was interested in something else.
Very true.
Mr. Detweiler, John Arndt here. What are some of the basic requirements to secure an entry-level position with your company?
Well, the first thing I'm going to tell you has to do with attitude, John. We want people who know that satisfying the customer is what our business is all about. We want you to be on time every time. We want you to provide us quality and productive work. We want you to be honest. We want you to be flexible, be able to earn respect from your peers. We want to be able to clearly communicate, either written or orally. We want you to have some time management skills. And most importantly, we want the ability to learn, because you get into a job with base level stuff. I can train you to do things, but I can't train attitude. So that's the first thing, is have a professional attitude when you come, and be that way when you interview with me. That's the way it goes. Beyond that, then, depending on, our entry level position is a porter, okay, and they're union jobs and they pay decently, but really for the training of South Tech, those folks want to start going to get technical training. And what, we're looking for certifications that you have, ASE or manufacturer certifications. So you don't have to have a college degree to get into our system, but you have to have some experience. And it depends at which level, there's several entry level positions, but I would like to pass on to them first is attitude's a big thing. We can train you on a lot of things, but attitude's kind of tough to train. Does that answer you, John?
Yeah, that does. Thank you.
Mr. Detweiler, I got a question for you.
Yes, sir.
What does a typical day for an automotive line tech look like from start to finish?
Well, okay. Well, number one, it's always challenging, never boring, and you get control of your own pay levels. But it is frustrating at times because there's lots of starts and stops in the system. But it takes organizational skills, and you learn that with experience. But first time, the good technicians are going to get here. They're going to get here early. They're going to get their uniform on. They'll be ready to work when it's time for them to start work. They don't walk in the door at 8 o'clock. They're ready to start work at 8 o'clock. They're going to check on parts to make sure if any parts came in, first part of the morning, check with parts, see if any parts that they ordered yesterday came in. They'll check with the dispatcher to make sure if there's any special work that has to be done on a job today that's been assigned to them, either a previous day or if there was a special appointment. So they'll get that in their schedule early. They will, German's going to work on probably between 1 to 6 jobs in a day, ballpark. They're going to check to see, they're going to get, all of our systems are run on computer now. So you record your work, you record your time punching, you record what you're going to do on that repair order on each concern or maintenance item, one at a time. So you need to be organized, and as you're working, you're putting your information into the system. You're time punching as you need to. You're putting your diagnostics in, your test results as you go. You don't wait till the end. You do it while you're doing it, because everyone can see live what you're doing. The advisor is watching what you're doing in order to properly communicate with the customer. So they are, the techs have to be very knowledgeable about the proper repair method and the proper punching sequences, and be able to know what physical tests do I need to run, what electronic tests do I need to run, what kind of wiring diagrams do I need to review. They also, obviously, they're going to get that car. First thing is test drive the car. Find out, can you verify the problem? If you can't verify the problem, don't spend 3 hours chasing down something you can't verify. Stop, go back to the advisor, get some more information. But bottom line is you need to understand that concern, because number one, you got to verify it to fix it. Number two, after you made a fix, you got to know that you actually did fix it. You're going to, along the way, you will have also done some maintenance checklist item for our customer. You would have checked oil and filters and belts and tires and brakes and tie rods and ball joints and all of the basic things for our customer safety that we do every time someone comes in. And it's kind of a red, yellow, green thing. They're used to doing that. That's kind of the easy part. But as a result, we're trying to minimize the stops and starts. So normally the technicians will do that first on a job before they do diagnostics, so that the service advisor can start getting prices together on the maintenance items before he gets to the other stuff. Once they test drove it, they verify the concern, they're going to go in and say, okay, now I got to go look at the manufacturer's data. Let me see their warranty data, extended warranty data. Are there any recalls? Are there any special programs that relate to this specific customer concern that is involved? If not, then I'm going to go ahead and proceed and do my diagnostics. I'm going to find out what I need to find. And most times you get a diagnostic code, but that doesn't just give you exactly the answer. You then have to go to various pinpoint tests to take from a generic problem that you know what it is. Now you've got to go down, and it's like going down the arms of a tree. Is you've got to decide what of the 7 possible causes, what is the most likely cause? Because you're going to have to go back and quote that to the customer, because the customer doesn't really want to hear, oh, I know what it was, and oh, no, that wasn't. So you're basically saying, okay, there's 7 causes, 90% chance it's this one, 5% it's this one, 5% it's that one. The others are probably pretty rare. And that's how they're going to have to talk to the customer to try to identify what needs to be done. So all along, all these tests you're doing, you're going to be recording what your results were, what all the codes were, what all the tests were. And you're going to be communicating back and forth parts you need, and then they have to figure out what is the availability of those parts. Do we have them in stock? Can we get them in St. Louis? Do we have to go to Evansville, Illinois to get them? Can we buy them from another dealer here in town? So that part comes into the equation. You're now how those parts are available may depend on how you struggle along with the job. We may call the customer and say, okay, you need $700 worth of work. And the customer says, let me think about it. Then the tech's got to get off that ticket, go to the side, get on another job. And then, so there's some of these stops and starts become, the customer, we don't know what's wrong. We don't know how much it's going to cost until we get into the diagnostics. But there's delays at times for that, either because of a part or because of a customer. So those are some of the frustrating parts, where there's the stop and starts. You want to go continually from beginning to end, but the process doesn't really allow, because you have to have the work approved before you can do it. Sometimes after you've got work approved and you're back doing it, you run into a problem. A bolt breaks. Something else happens that you didn't know. And all of a sudden you have to stop, punch separately, describe what you're doing, come back to the advisor or to the service manager and decide, okay, is this 15 minutes and I'm just going to keep going? Or is this a 3-hour endeavor and now I've got to call the customer back for further approval, or the service manager's got to approve me just going on and the store's going to eat the difference. You then, beyond that, I have to make sure, if I'm in doing warranty, that I am personally certified to do this work, because if I'm not certified by Ford Motor Company to do the work, the store can't get paid under warranty for the work that I'm doing. So sometimes techs might have to come back and say, I found the problem, but I'm not qualified to make this warranty repair. It's going to have to go to another tech to do that because I don't have the qualifications at this time. So while you're doing that, additionally, as you're going through the shop manual to say the repair procedure, the shop manual requires you to do it in a certain way. You just don't get to do it any way you want to. And you have to have certain tools. Some of those tools you have as your own basic tools. Other tools we have in the shop that you have to do. Sometimes you need the alignment rack, or you need a special electronic test head that is so expensive. Maybe they're $5,000 or $6,000 on the test equipment, and they're shared. And so you have to line up in a queue, and there's 30 guys in the shop, and we got 5 of them. But sometimes we think we have enough, but sometimes we need 6, and somebody's waiting. So you got to get in the queue for that. Again, that's some of the stops and starts. I would say you should recognize too is there's a lot of communication going online. In the old days, there was a lot of walking back and forth to parts and back and forth to the service desk. All this information is kept online. So when the customer calls in and says, hey, how's my car doing? We would have expected our technicians to go in and my advisor can go in and look at the ticket online and see exactly where you are to explain to the customer. The customer doesn't want to hear, oh, I'll get to it. I'll find out later. Where are you on it? I left it with you this morning. Where are you at? One important thing is things don't always go perfectly as planned in the shop. Stuff happens. And that's where I get into honesty and stuff. Bad news has to travel as far as good news. When a tech's got to have enough knowledge that when he's stuck, he's earned the respect in the shop to go to a more senior tech and ask for help and say, I'm stuck, help me out. I don't want to go up front and tell him I can't do this. And that's where if you bow your head as you're a young guy coming in or young lady coming in and show them some respect, they don't mind helping you. But if you come in with an attitude, good luck to you. So the other thing is you're going to get stopped. Another customer from a prior repair called. They want a piece of information. There's another ticket that you have that somebody needs some help on. There's another guy that's pushing in a dead car and you got to help them push it in. There's somebody that's carrying a 200-pound part across the shop and the 3 guys need to help them do that. You got to get rid of hazardous materials and you got to make sure your safety glasses are on and you have all that stuff. There might be a safety training class that we're going to have that day, or we're going to have an OSHA class that day. Oh, by the way, the tool vendors are going to come by once a week. What tools do I need? Got to keep track of that so that when he comes by, I broke that tool on Tuesday. I got to have it because I need it for regular jobs. So all of these things, it's not just the simple get a car, fix it, leave away. It's like playing, chess on 3 boards at some time. You're always constantly rescheduling. The experienced guys learn how to do it. They learn how to make good notes, good stuff. And those that make good notes and good tracking, they make more money because they can document what they've done. If you can't document what you've done, you can't collect from a customer, you can't collect from Ford. So I think in between some of that also, you're going to get our guys every year they go through manufacturing certifications, probably equivalent of about a week a year. And then there are websites for each manufacturer where they have for journey persons, technicians to kind of talk about trends. Here's some trends on some new models that are coming out. And here's the repair issues we're having with those. And other technicians around the country are sharing with our technicians, hey, here's what we says, this is going to fix it. It didn't fix it. Then it said, do this. It didn't fix it. There's this other problem way over here that the shop manual hasn't caught up with, that's the real problem. Go fix that and that'll fix the problem. So it's never boring. It's different all the time. It's challenging. And typically our tradesmen have pride. They want to be the best technician in the shop. The 3 guys that were with you that work for me, they would both tell you, he said, or all 3 of them would say, who's the best tech in the shop when they were here? They'd say, I am, and I'll show you. And, but at the same time, if they got stuck, they would clearly go to one another and say, hey, I've got an idea. So it's very busy. The days go fast. It can be frustrating, but it's good pay and it's going to get nothing else but better pay. So does that get there, John? Did I?
Excellent.
Okay. Okay. So is there any questions from the kids on any of that so I just didn't go rambling?
Jeff, are you monitoring the questions? Okay, Mike, I have it on my phone, and right now there are no questions, but I do encourage, just as a reminder, if any students have any questions, please type them into the chat and we will address those.
Okay, thank you.
I do have a quick question. In your dealership, as a percentage, do you know offhand when you're going to fill a higher level position, you need a new shift manager, you need, somebody higher up, how much of a percentage within the company do you fill those positions rather than looking outside?
We fill from within whenever we can. Our service manager was an advisor, and then he was he was an advisor, then he was a dispatcher, then he was an assistant manager, then he's a manager. The service manager was an advisor, and now he's an assistant manager, and then he was a service manager. So we want to promote from within wherever we can. And we bring people in as I guess, let me just say this, the technical positions in the service department is, there's basically a porter or a lube tech. Then there's what's called a helper, but really he's a Missouri State inspection level person. Then there's a technician trainee. Then there's a journey person. Then there's a master journey person. Then there's a diesel master journey person. And as you move up those spots, you have more and more technical information and you can move into those. But there's such a shortage. If somebody was a diesel tech that came in today and walked in the door with the tickets and the certifications, I'm going to hire him because there's such a shortage. But we have 4 people in Ford Asset Program at Rankin. We're constantly trying to move and grow our own folks because that's our future. They're not there. We have to grow. So wherever we can go from within, we do.
Yeah, thank you. Most people I know that run shops started out as porters and they worked their way up into management. So it's always good to see that. Thank you.
Well, here's one other thing I'd say to you. Kids, don't be afraid to bet on yourself. Come in, be professional, show us what you know. And somebody who's working hard and tries to do what we're asking them to do and do it in a quality manner gets recognized. You don't miss that. Everybody sees it. What you think, at 18, what you think not everybody sees, the adults see, and they take notice. And we have guys that have come in from Porter, and we promoted them into our parts department and into parts trainees and to parts full countermen. So we look for ways. We hired a guy who came in as a phone answering guy to help with our customers and wound up being a service advisor. So show us your skill, show us your commitment, and we can train you to do a lot of things.
Thank you.
Good question, Ken. That was going to be my next.
Sorry about that.
Hey, it was perfect. A little out of order, but it was fine.
Sorry about that.
No, it was great. Mr. Raymond, do you want to go next with your question?
Okay. Mr. Detweiler, what are some of your bigger challenges you faced in your career?
Mr. Detweiler, holy cow. Give me that, my father. Number one, the customers are extremely demanding. But with no customers, there's no business, no jobs. You got to come in the door understanding that customers are demanding. For young folks coming in, what we want to try to impress on you is respect is earned. It isn't a right. You have to earn it. And you earn it by how you work with others and how you show yourself. An experienced tradesman can now make as much or more money than a college graduate. When I graduated from college, everybody wanted to be an engineer, a doctor, an accountant. We got tradesmen making more money than a whole bunch of those. And working hard takes you a while in this life, especially, we were all young. I was 18, they just weren't 64. We were all young, and we all found that you get ahead by working harder than everybody else and by providing better productivity and quality. And that's how you get ahead. You show people you're better. Successful people do that. You can't learn unless you listen well. Boy, that was one for me. You have to learn to listen well. and attentively. You have to take notes. Your memory's not as good as you thought it was, especially when you're busy. So now I'm a note memory, but find your weaknesses and find the paths that you can solve for yourself. As I said, quit looking for the job you love. Looking for the job that fits the profile of what you want out of your life and for your family. Look for the things that are hard. And lastly, don't assume. Don't assume your boss knows how great you are. Don't assume that that somebody else thought that you were supposed to do that, or somebody else was going to do that for you. Be clear, be concise, don't assume. And that assuming creates a lot of problems. Communication and assumption is the toughest things we face. But now you don't hear me talking about a lot of technical things. We have very good technical people who are trained, but our mistakes are in communication and in misunderstanding. We don't have that many mistakes in attitude because we just don't keep people around that don't have a common goal with us. A guy who will work his tail off, or gal, that'll work really hard. I'm willing to bend a little. If they make a mistake, okay, they were trying. Somebody who's got an attitude and doesn't want to work hard, even if they're really talented, sometimes that just can't hold the line for them, if you know what I mean. I don't know if I'm saying that right. I have had, not so much with John, but Randy and Ed, when they worked for me at times, they were guys that could come to me and at 10 o'clock in the morning, really tell me I was full of, I don't say that word, but they would argue with me over something, but it was always about making it right for the customer. I hadn't made the right decision for making it right to the customer, and they would take me on over that. But if I made the mistake, even beyond that, they would make sure that the customer got taken care of, because that was their driver. They were going to prove that they could fix that car for that customer, and they were proud of it, and they were proud trade. So I like that. I like a guy or gal who's committed to taking care of my customer. I kind of got windy. I'm sorry.
Mike, I've got a question for you.
Yep.
What else should a high school student considering a career in the automotive field know as far as getting in? Is there an age requirement and things like that to get into your store?
You have to be 18 years old. We've tried 17. Matter of fact, I tried for 3 months, but there are certain child labor laws that are in force, and you have to be 18. You can't use a lift. You can't drive a car off the lot. There's all kinds of ridiculous things that are government related things, not Dave Sinclair things, but basically you have to be 18.
Okay.
And then secondly to that, if you're trying to find your way in an automotive field, the key things we're going to look for you for technician kind of jobs are, do you have ASE certifications? If you're in collision, do you have ICAR certifications? Have you were you able to attend a college like Rankin and getting an associate's degree? Were you able to get in a co-op program where you could get manufacturer's certifications? For example, for us, Ford Motor Company doesn't care if you have GM qualifications. They only care about Ford. So techs tend to go down one manufacturer's line or whatever, but we're looking for your certifications. We have to get those for you if you don't have them, because we can't get paid for the work unless you do. A Missouri State Inspector's license. Now you have to have been out in the shops for a while to get that, but that's going to be key, because for us in dealerships, that's what we need to do our used car work, because we want our customers to be able to say we had a Missouri State licensed state inspector working on the safety of your vehicle. Show some respect to the senior techs that can help you, because they are the people that are really going to train you. It's not going to be Mike Detweiler training you how to be a tech. It's going to be our good journeymen that are out there. They're going to help you along the way. So you got to show a little respect to them, and don't be afraid to bet on yourself. If you've been to South Tech, you're ahead of the game. you know, as far as I consider I mean, I only know South Tech, excuse me. I don't know North Tech that well, but I know those guys and I know how they are and I know what they train. And I know what their expectations. You may get mad at them, students, because they were on your case, but I do know them, and I do know that they have your best interest at heart, and they're trying to do good for your future. So listen to them. But those are the kind of things I talked about the attitude things before, but the technical parts, John, that would be kind of the things that I would be looking toward.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, I got the next question.
Okay.
What type of incentive or bonus programs are available as a service tech? I remember one time you hung $100 bill by the time clock if anybody could fix a probe that had a check-in back, and I decided to take that challenge. So
I think you probably won that one.
Going on?
Well, here's the thing. First off, all of our technicians are on flat rate, which means a job generically pays 3 hours and you can do it in 2.5. You're going to get paid the 3 for the 2. So they're all on flat rate. Additionally, we have bonuses up to almost $4 an hour per hour above. So if you make your 40 hours, you get back to that first hour, you may get as much as $4 an hour in bonus for those hours. So you get not only flat rate, but you get bonus. We do have some things like Randy said, if we have a few just as a challenge, and part of that is keeps it interesting, keeps everybody's mind and motivated. And there's how long has it been? 20 years, but you still remember it. Guys, remember that. It's fun. We got to have some things to break it up. Sometimes the frustration, you just need to do something to get everybody's attention that, hey, it's a little fun and a little challenging. And I think everybody does that from time to time. But it is a business where it's incentive based all the way. So your quality, your productivity, your knowledge that's how you get paid. So you control your own destiny in a lot of stuff.
Thank you.
I guess I got the next one. Mike, what would you consider the most valuable skill for a young technician?
Okay, the skill right now is having the manufacturer technical certifications. That's the biggest shortage that we have. So getting those. So for example, Ford Motor Company, for the first time ever, and I've been in this business at Sinclair since '92. For the first time ever, my understanding is they're offering Ford certifications for that are nationwide that you can achieve through South Tech, and probably I assume North Tech too. That's been unheard of before. But somebody comes in with South Tech and starts to have those certifications. It tells me two things. One is he knows the score and what he needs to do. Two, it shows some talent. They can't just, anybody just can't pass those. You have to have some knowledge to do it. And third, it tells me he understands the process of moving himself forward, because those classifications. Two people come in to me and one's got Ford certifications and one doesn't. Ford certification, assuming they have the same attitude, Ford certifications is going to get there. So that is the key shortage right now. Does that answer you?
Yeah, Marcus did send a code and we passed it on to our students. So they're eligible to take all the online classes available to the journeyman technicians. The high school students at North and South Tech are eligible to take also here.
And that certification is just exactly the same as our journey person.
Yeah.
So it's not like you're getting a lesser deal. Let me give you a flavor for the Ford certifications, just to tell you how long it takes. If I set a person down and all the classes were available one right after the other, it would take about 75 days to get through them. So if you come to me and you've got 15 days of them done, guess what? That's 15 less days I have to pay for. So it is. I hope the kids understand what a great thing that is, because they're going down to the high school levels to try to convince these students to go into the program. They know they have to get down that far now to convince you. But I think I was in one of the classes talking to some students over there last year, and I held my phone up and I said, how many of your friends all day long go like this on your phone? Everybody raised their hand. I said, how many people of your friends know what a wrench is? And they all started laughing. I said, how many of them could use a wrench? And they all really laughed. They said, well, then it's supply and demand. You grabbed the brass ring and you don't even know you got it yet, but continue down this path. You're never going to be sorry. So
That's great. The opportunities available even to students at the high school level, it's really amazing. So that was some great information that you shared. And I also, as soon as we can have visitors in our schools again, Mike, I'd love to invite you to come and tour North Tech. Make sure you get to meet and talk to Craig and Jason. And then we also have a diesel program at North Tech. So we'd love to show you that school as well.
Sure.
Okay, so thank you very much. I think we're ready to go ahead and move into the auto collision field. And I think Ms. Jones is going to go ahead and share her screen. And I just want to encourage before we start that if anyone has any questions, please type them into the chat.
Thank you so much. Mr. Buckeye, thank you for the introduction. Really appreciate it. Really appreciate being invited to be here today. Mr. Detweiler had some awesome comments. Pretty much everything that he said is relatable to collision and what it looks like to be a collision tech. So really great comments. You'll probably hear me echo a little bit of it. Just to start out, why would you choose a career in collision? I've had I started my career in 2004, and I've had a great career path. I really enjoy what I'm doing now. My career path is not for everybody. There's so many different options. Why you should consider a career in collision, whatever that career path looks like. There's a tech shortage. We're going to talk about that in the next slide. That leads to job opportunity and security that Mike was talking about. A big one, these jobs cannot be outsourced overseas. And people don't think about that, but you're not going to be able to fix a car through the internet. We have to have people here to be able to work on those cars. Through COVID, I know, you might know a lot of people that didn't have a job for a while, or companies that closed. And, with all the people that I know in the industry, everybody still had a job. They might have had reduction in hours, depending on, the level of work that they had in the shop. They might have had a little bit of a pay cut, but they were working through the whole summer, the spring and the summer. Endless career path opportunities. This is one of those careers, one of those industries where there's a million different career path opportunities. There's no one way you have to get into the industry. It doesn't require a license like some careers do. You have a lot of options, and we're going to talk about that in a little bit too. If you like to work with your hands, you're artistic, creative, you like to learn, all those things that Mike had mentioned, then this is a great career. This is a great industry for you. If you're interested, the interesting work, high-tech work, cars are getting more and more high-tech by the minute. There's great people, and I'm lucky to have a lot of friends and family that are in the industry, and there's great companies. They're take care of their employees. Benefits, just like any other industry and other companies, the benefits are offered to full-time employees and sometimes part-time employees. The wages are phenomenal. Again, you have to take pride in what you're doing, and the wages will be there for you. And then leadership opportunities. Just to tell a quick story about that, I was doing a presentation, and it was for counselors for high schools. And I was telling them about the collision industry and automotive and just the options out there that they might not have even known about. And after I was done with my presentation, somebody from BJC came up to me. He was a recruiter, and he's recruiting for healthcare jobs. And he said, you mentioned leadership opportunities. He goes, I think the people that are applying for healthcare that want to get into management need to probably look at your industry, because it sounds like you can get from a entry-level type position to a leadership position fairly quickly. And he said that in healthcare, you know, you could be close to retirement before you're ever offered a supervisor or manager job. So it was really interesting to hear. And personally, I've seen so many people that have started in those entry-level positions. And, you know, we always talk about, you know, I used to sweep the floors and now I'm a GM, or I'm a supervisor, or I'm a vice president of a company. You know, I've seen them go all the way up to CEOs of major organizations. So there's a lot of opportunity out there if you wanted to get. And then, you know, if you're gonna take pride in keeping families safe on the road, that's a big one. You know, this is one of those careers where you're doing something that's very meaningful. You're keeping families safe on the road. The path to a successful career after high school, you can certainly go straight to work. And then there's other options with college programs. And I happen to work for Rankin, and we do have a college program. So I'll talk a little bit about that in just a minute. There we go. Mr. Detweiler mentioned the tech shortage, and on the collision side, it's the same. The information that I pull, you know, being in the industry so long and having a lot of friends and family out there, I am able to do a lot of research. And with these two organizations, they post a lot of statistics that I wanted to share with you. ICAR, that's the training programs certification for the collision industry. They said in 2016, they estimated 56,000 tech jobs were unfilled at the 34,000 repair shops nationwide. That's huge. That's a huge shortage to fill. And then if you follow that up with what CREF has on their website, and CREF is Collision Repair Education Foundation. It's a nonprofit organization. They say that 21,500 techs are going to leave the industry each year, and that 31,000 techs leave for a different job in the industry each year. And then a quarter of the existing workforce plans to retire or change jobs in the next 12 months. Those are pretty staggering statistics. And if you start talking to people at different collision shops, you'll find out that you know, many of their journeymen or A techs are at retirement age. And you know, we need good people to start getting interested in these jobs and get into the industry. There's a lot of opportunity out there. With women in automotive and collision, we go to events and we promote careers in the industry. We see the opportunities. It's a group of people from all different companies within the industry. Some are collision shops, some are automotive shops, some are vendors, enterprise. There's a lot of different companies that come together to kind of promote the careers in the industry for parents, students, educators, people that wouldn't normally hear about the industry opportunities. And this is one of the flyers that we hand out. And in the gray circle towards the middle of the flyer, we talk about collision repair technicians. And when you see apprentice, mid-level technician, and journeyman technician, you might also hear, for apprentice, you might hear a C-level tech, or a mid-level tech might be a B-level tech. Journeyman tech, at the shops that I ran or worked at, we called them A techs. And the dollar amounts that we put here, so for apprentice, maybe 35,000 plus, you know, each company is different. And the group of people that come together to promote the careers in the industry that I just mentioned, we all kind of agreed upon these base dollar amounts. But really, each person kind of makes their own way, makes their own path, negotiates their own deal. But this is pretty good average for those people in those positions. That's for technicians. You know, what does entry level look like? If you're coming from, maybe you weren't in the high school program. I don't know if there's anybody that's watching that did not take collision in high school, But if you're coming off the street without any prior knowledge, or even from a high school program, you might be starting as a detailer. You might have the option to start as an apprentice technician or a C-level technician. It really depends on how well you honed your skills, within your program. But typically entry level looks like $10, $14 an hour, somewhere in there is what I have personally seen or heard about. Again, that depends on your experience. If you're coming, from a collision program, then you might, a collision program at a college, then you might start at that $10 or $14 an hour, but then, you might have developed your skills. That's what a collision program does, is you're able to hone those skills while you're in the program. So you might be able to start a little bit higher and start as that apprentice tech or C-tech. And then how long before you move up? And that's completely up to you. I've seen people that started out as a detailer and they became a technician within a few years. It takes a lot of experience to become that A-level tech, that journeyman tech. But you can be a detailer or a porter for 6 months before you work your way into a technician position, or you can be there for years, depending on the initiative, how much you go after that position, what you do to try to get to that next level. And a lot of times that's helping out other technicians. If you see somebody needs a helping hand, you go over and you ask questions and you offer, help on whatever project they're working on. The key is really, once you're done with your job, find something you can help somebody else with and continue learning. All right. Repair Driven News put out this article, and they did a survey of shops and asked what entry-level technician tech expectations are. And the majority of them, it looks like, picked that, maybe the top 2 for sure. Maybe the top 4 tasks is what they are looking for that C or entry-level technician, the apprentice technician. I would throw in that diagnostic scanning as well. It's the more conversations I'm having with different people at different shops, that's becoming something that is expected of an entry-level technician, and even a detailer. I know a lot of detailers that are actually doing the diagnostic scanning. So in high school, in a high school program, you might cover all these tasks, and that's great. What they're looking for, though, is for that entry-level technician, most of the time, is some kind of proficiency in at least the top few tasks. So they want you to be able to do that, maybe under supervision, but you're primarily able to work on those tasks and complete them on your own. So, in high school, I don't know, certainly you can develop those skills and be able to go out into the workforce and become that entry-level technician right away if you're able to complete some of these tasks. College comes into, the college program is great because then you get to reinforce those skills that you've learned in high school and keep developing them. So with the extra time that you have going through the program, the more time that you have going through your degree at a college, then you will be able to most likely enter the workforce as that entry-level technician, that C technician or apprentice technician. So I mentioned Rankin, and Mr. Newman had a student yesterday that wasn't going to be able to participate today and asked, what's the difference between getting a degree and a certificate from Rankin? And I just wanted to, I thought maybe other people might be interested in that. The degree is offered in a day program. It's at the St. Louis campus, so it's offered in a day program. It does include the gen eds, and personally, I think the gen eds are important. Mr. Detweiler brought up communication skills; those are important. That's something that you would learn in gen eds with the oral communications in English. Written and oral communication skills are sought after by employers. It is great if you're technically able to do your job, but if you can work with a team and communicate, and especially, you know, with your management or with customers, that's a huge plus. And really it can make a difference on whether you get to that next level. If, you know, let's say you don't want to be a technician, you want forever, you want to get into management. Those gen eds can really help you along the way. And math is part of that. And, you know, in a technical program, math is so important. And to be able to gain new mathematical skills in college and continue working on that, that will just help you problem solve on the job. So it does include the gen eds. You know, a lot of times, like I just mentioned, having the degree can make or break whether you advance in some companies, in some jobs. And I'll just give you, for instance, I have a friend who was a painter at a collision shop and had the certificate, did not have the degree, went to be a paint tech rep and for a vendor, and then wanted to get into management with a paint company manufacturer, and really was stopped because of the degree. So, you know, I wouldn't say that working for a collision shop, if you wanted to get into management, you probably do not need a degree. Certificate would be fine. Even on the job training would be fine. But depending on what kind of job you're looking for in the industry, that might be the thing that makes the difference on whether you get into that next level role that you're looking for. And then at Rankin, the degree offers an internship with an employer, which is just a great way to reinforce the skills you're learning in school in a real world hands-on environment. We can't, in school, in the shop, you can't duplicate that speed and pace that you have out in the real world. So it's a great way for a student to be able to slow down. It's an 8-week on, 8-week off program. So in 8 weeks, while you're on campus, you learn a set of skills, then you go out to the employer and you reinforce those skills. Then you come back to school. You do that alternating until the last semester. You're getting paid the whole time too. So most students that I know have a job while they're going through school. Why not have a job that's in the industry, in the field that you want to have your career in? So this is a great way to get, if you look at the benefits of internship, you know, it's a great way to kind of test drive an employer too. So while you're going through school, you get to test drive the job, make sure that this is something that you really want to do. You'll know that first semester because you'll be out with an employer. And then, you know, and then the employer as well, you know, you want to make sure that you're in a place that is a good fit for you. You know, there's so many great companies out there, but one might be a better fit than another. And just under, you know, the benefits of an internship, of course, you get the associate's degree, you get paid to learn. We already talked about the real world hands-on experience. You get a mentor to oversee your training out in the shop, which is great. Having a senior technician that's going to watch over you while you're in the shop and make sure that you're doing things properly and learning properly, it's huge. Long-term relationship with the employer, you know, these types of internships are great for retention for the employer, but then, you know, also the student that's going through it. They hopefully they have a home for a really long time. They're career ready at graduation. We talked about that. They're going to have developed their skills in a lot more areas and be able to start as that entry level technician that we were talking about. And then with Rankin's degree, that also is nationally recognized DOL apprenticeship certificate tied to it. So anybody who's in that program, that DOL apprenticeship certificate is fantastic. Especially if you're going to move outside of Missouri, you want to move across country, any employer can look up to see that you've completed that certificate. It's great to have on your resume. Just another credential. something to be proud of. The certificate is fantastic too. That's more, you don't have the gen eds. So really that's a big difference to it. You don't have the gen eds. You're really just focusing on the industry training, and you can do that during the day, or you can do it in the evening program. So those are that's basically the difference between those. Okay. So you're telling me you don't want to be a technician, right? You go through school, you go through the high school program, you enjoyed it, but you're not really thinking that this is going to be for you, but you really like the industry because there's so many opportunities. Well, you know, here is a list, and this is just a small list. And again, this is from the WAC group that we have. We just kind of put together some bullets of different types of career options that are available. So having that background, if you went through the high school program, you are going to be so much more successful in all these positions because you have that technical background. You know kind of what it looks like to be a technician, to work on a car, you know, the parts of the car. So that's all going to help you in these careers. But if you're watching this and you didn't go to the collision program at the high school, that's fine too. I can tell you just personally, I was not a technician. I wasn't cool enough to be a technician. I started in sales, and then I did that for a really long time, and then became a director of sales and marketing, which was great. And then I took a detour and went into HR within a collision shop, which was awesome. I did talent development management, and then I went to become an independent sales and marketing person within the industry. And now I'm at Rankin, and I work with the collision program. So I have had a career path, you know, that was totally unique to me. I absolutely loved it. But those are this industry needs all kinds of people doing all kinds of jobs. And there's just so many viable careers there, even if you don't want to become a technician or stay a technician, or maybe you want to be a technician for a few years and you decide you want to move into something else. There's so many opportunities, and it's just a great opportunity, a great industry for that. So to kind of wrap it up, what does it take to be successful in collision? Mr. Detweiler said all of these things, and it is so true. Great attitude. Companies, you could be as great as you are at being a technician, but if you have a poor attitude, you can't work well with others. We kind of, you know, through my years in the collision, if you're not on the bus facing the same direction, then you're really doing a disservice to the company. So make sure you're in a good place. A lot of times great attitude goes with a great team, a team that you feel like you fit into. So if you're not feeling it wherever you are, don't discount the industry and a career in the industry. Maybe there's just another company that would be better suited for what for you and your personality. Work ethic, you know, can't express how important work ethic is. You got to be there on time. You have to be there on time. You can't be on your phone when you're not supposed to be on your phone. And to get to that next level as quickly as possible, you really need to do your job, take pride in your job, no matter what that job is. People will notice, and that's how you'll get farther. So take pride in your job, do your job. And when you have breaks, don't lean against the wall. Don't take a break. Go ask a technician, or find out which job you like the best in the shop, and go ask that person who's doing that job to help start training you on how to do their job, or ask questions how you can help. And then a desire to keep learning. This is not one of those set it and forget it kind of industries. Things are changing too fast, and you have to keep learning. You have to want to keep learning. There's all kinds of training available. And the one thing that I do want to mention as well is, if you're going to be in a technical job, you really need a driver's license. That's going to be very important. And I really can sit here and say that I don't know many companies, collision shops, dealerships, that will hire somebody without a driver's license, a valid driver's license. So if that's something that you want to you want to be in one of those technical roles, you'll have to be able to drive a car around. For the insurance for the shop, they're going to require that people have that driver's license. So you just want to make sure that you're working on that if this is an industry that you want to be in. And I think that's what I have.
Kelly, that was really a lot of great information. I think that's the best list I've seen of different occupations in the automotive industry. I think that was really helpful. If it's okay, may I share that presentation with our instructors?
Oh, absolutely.
Okay, great.
Absolutely.
I'm sure that they will have a use for it.
Sally, can I add
yes,
one
please,
thing?
Please.
As usual, Shelley got all the points that I missed, so it was a great presentation. One thing I'd like to tell the collision students coming out is don't be afraid to start out in metal work. Everybody comes out and wants to be a painter.
Everybody.
The fact of the matter is that our shop managers, our estimators come from the metal side of the business, not the paint side of the business. And there's a lot of metal guys that can learn how to paint, but not all the paint guys can learn how to do metal. But if you want an entry into our shops, put your hand up and say, I'll start on the metal. It's in our best interest to train you. Everybody knows you have to get trained, but don't be afraid. They know it's difficult, but sometimes they're afraid to say, oh, I'll take that on. Don't be afraid to bet on yourself. And there's the opportunities for you if you decide to stay in the collision field would be much greater for you if you start in the metal side as opposed to the paint side. Would you agree with that or not, Shelley?
Oh, absolutely. There's just tons of opportunity. And even if that's not your long-term goal, having that experience is so incredibly valuable, no matter what you're going to do. And like you had mentioned, an estimator, understanding what a body tech does. You're deciding how many hours it's going to be to do a repair. Well, if you've actually had hands-on experience with that, you're going to be able to write better estimates, help the company more. You just become more and more valuable as you go. So I would highly suggest learning as many different roles within the shop. If you want to work in a shop, learn as many different roles as you possibly can. Learn how to be a parts person, learn how to be an estimator, learn customer service. So important to learn customer service as well. So I agree, Mike.
Great. Okay, well, we still have no questions in the chat. So I'm just wondering if there are any final thoughts from anyone on our panel.
I want to say something that's basically about Rankin. I've got my shirt on here for our job fairs that we have for the students. And we have all these different schools from different areas around Missouri and some in Illinois. And as a testament to Rankin, all these people have tables, and they have vendors, they have come in, they want to hire students, they want to talk to students. And so we have all these students come in and talk to them and want to try and make a connection. And John Hildebrand from Rankin was there one time, and they're like, why didn't you bring anybody? He said they all have jobs. They basically were all taken care of. So I mean that's a good track record to have. It's bad he showed up with nobody, but they're already working. So Rankin has a really good program. So I just want to say that.
As owners of companies, we are involved in Rankin ourselves because we know the kind of job that they do. We know that they're going to give us a young person that has learned how to work. They're going to co-op with us. We have had great results. So, we do it in our own self-interests because they have provided us quality candidates, and a lot of our employees, both on the service side and the collision side, came from Rankin. So now there are other great opportunities out there. I'm not saying they're the only one, but here in St. Louis, they do quite a quality job, and I think they have they're kept in very high regard by the ownership of the various companies.
Okay, thank you. And I would just encourage any students viewing this session, if they have any questions about anything that was discussed today, follow up with your instructor, follow up with your guidance counselor at your school. There's plenty of people at both North and South Tech who can help you with any questions you may have about your post-secondary planning. Okay, well, I think this is going to conclude our session. I can't thank Shelley and Mike enough for joining us today and sharing such fantastic information. And to all of our teachers from North and South Tech too, thank you very, very much. All right, and I hope everyone has a nice evening. Thanks.
Thank you.